welcome to Dojo Live this Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, for the second episode in our The Hospitality Advantage Real Stories of AI in Action series. My name is Kim Lantis. I'll be hosting throughout this series. And joining me today are David Chestler, President of Provision Partners. Hello, David.
Hello,
and
Kim.
Nagaraj Sastry, who's the SVP of Data and Analytics at Encora. So yes, good to see you again, David. You've been my partner in crime throughout all of this. And of course, welcome, Nagaraj.
Thank you. Partner in crime. That's scary. I don't know if you should introduce us that way, right?
Good crime, all the good crime.
Yeah.
Perfect. So as mentioned, today's topic of conversation is going to be secure data sharing, the key to hospitality's AI revolution. But before we dive into that nitty gritty, we thought we'd love to learn a bit more about your background, experience, and passion for technology. Nagaraj, if you could please open that up and how you got into what you do.
It's a long story, but any case, let me keep it short. So, for everyone, I lead the data and analytics practice for Encora globally, and I've been in the data realm for over 25 years. I've seen the transition of data from uh, mainframes to SQL servers, Oracle databases, or RDBMSs, to MPPs, to the Hadoop ecosystems, and now current day to the cloud data ecosystem. And I've on that's on the database side. But if you think about it, even data awareness was not there when it all started. The term business intelligence was coined after I started doing business intelligence. In those days, it used to be called decision support systems, and the only tool of choice was impromptu from IBM, current day Cognos. And so we have traveled a far way, and these are exciting times. Happy to learn, happy to share what I have learned, and take things forward from here.
I love it. You're right. I think you've seen so much change, and just realizing that so much more is left to come. It is exciting. David, based off of your decades of experience in the hospitality industry, your own passion for introducing new tech and strategies for organizations in this space, is there anything you'd like to add? And why are you excited about today's conversation?
Well, because we actually really have a data scientist who's here who, knew about future trends and studied about these things way before it became topic du jour, right? With the AI and generative part, Chat GPT. And I think the database, which Narendra really speaks about, is so important. Nagaraj's point about how structure goes to the cloud now, that's really what it's about, and this transformation. So having a data scientist who had the precognition of what's happening and studied it for 25 years, we have no ageism issues here. It's exciting, and I think getting to the heart of it will be what I'm interested in, right? And going through what are the key benefits of even bringing AI into the sector from a data science and analytics perspective, right?
Absolutely. And also from Nagaraj's perspective of being a very big traveler himself, I think one of the questions is how to think about what those tales or his own experiences bring to the AI and travel sector. I don't know, Nagaraj, did you want to speak a bit to that?
Sure. So, in the travel and hospitality industry, you have to think about two things. Today, current day traveler has all the loyalty programs associated, whether it is with Star Alliance, whether it is with American Airlines, One World, and so on and so forth, or whether it is with hotel chains for that matter. What happens is the ability to distinguish between business travel and personal travel is critical.
Hmm.
These loyalty programs give you a lot of benefits when it comes in terms of when you are traveling by yourself. But by extending that benefit when you're traveling with your family or on leisure to your family members or to your co-travelers, that will go a long way in establishing the loyalty associated in the travel and hospitality industry as a whole. And many times what happens is Even the pricing, if you think about pricing, the pricing is different when you're traveling on business. But hey, I'm a platinum member, or whichever class I am in terms of membership. You can charge me whatever when you're in on business travel, but when you're on leisure travel, can something extra be extended in terms of a discount? Why you're trying to hold on to that customer and get that revenue from that perspective. It's one is in terms of extending the hospitality part of it to
Mm.
co-travelers, and the second is on the pricing side of it. As a result, what happens is the lifetime value of the customer, whether it is in travel or whether it is in hospitality, will only go up. That's something that needs to happen. Uh, Easier said than done.
Exceedingly true. And I think that was part of our conversation the other
Hmm.
day, is how for a while we've been trying to lock down data and protect it and build a security and make sure that my hives or CRM or data structures are protected behind my walls. And to get the type of sharing that Nagaraj is talking about, so that I can recognize and credential my prospect guest or traveler and be able to bring the loyalty piece, the preferences, and all of that data. How do I make these and expose these data structures so that I can do that type of recognition and personalization, right? Because that's really what we're talking about, is the data structure. And the AI is a technology that enables the querying and the faster engagement for the customer and for the colleague, right? The operation. So that takes us probably into understanding, how do you now go against what everyone was focused on in locking down data? How do we evolve into this, large language models or similar, that evolution?
So I'll tell you, there are different stages of
Mm,
generative AI.
mm,
Today, when generative AI came into play, a lot of work that was done was using prompt engineering, which is the first level, where you have got a large language model. You're just bringing that large language model, getting it trained with a data set within your enterprise, and then you're asking questions of it.
mm,
We're moving away from there. Organizations have suddenly realized that there is more to it. And the more to it part is when you get into the RAG process, in terms of, and as a result, what happens is applications are getting created using Gen AI. And those applications or those models that you're going to use, there is a base model, obviously, but then you
mm,
can fine tune that model within your own ecosystem and ensure that that model is not exposed to the outside world, and it is being used within the contours of your own ecosystem. And
mm,
as a result, what happens is the security is a big question,
mm,
or was a big question. I would say it is was a big question,
mm,
predominantly because organizations have realized that cloud ecosystems, whether it is AWS, whether it is Azure or GCP, or whether it is Gen AI ecosystems like NVIDIA or
mm,
Snowflake for that matter, have already taken care of the security aspect of it, in terms of three aspects. One is in terms of sensitive data, because we're talking about travelers here. There is a lot of sensitive data associated to a traveler, whether it is his first name, middle name, middle initial, last name, or social security number, or phone number, or email address, or credit card information. All of that is secured. Why? Because right from the upfront, the LLM models or the large language models are institutionalizing the concept of masking the sensitive data. And there are accelerators that within Encora we have, where any sensitive data within the travel industry itself, any sensitive data is masked. And as a result, when you're using your LLM model on top of that, the way the masking is done, it is contextualized. For example, between me and say David, if you're on a chat on Slack or something and say, "Hey, David, can you pass me your phone number?" Right?
mm,
And here is my phone number, and I say that here is my number, and let's chat, let's catch up sometime, and then that information, when it comes into the sensitive data management piece, line one, hey David, can you share your number? And David is the name that I have used, so
Right.
David will be pseudonymized to some other name, say John. Your phone number, when you respond with your phone number, that phone number is also with the phone number of 3 and 4, whatever is the format. You're giving me the phone number, and the pseudonymization happens of that phone number too. Now, when this kind of a structure is created, and then I give you my phone number, the masking algorithm, treats it as a second variable. Now, in the first variable, it has aligned David and his phone number together. In the third variable, in the second piece of the variable, it is aligning Nagaraj and his phone number and pseudonymizing it. So when you use that pseudonymized your data in your models, what happens is your models are going to give you a better precision. So in the olden age, when we were doing AI ML related work, at that point in time, all these pseudonymization was not available, and as a result, your models were not giving you accurate results, or prediction was a little always in question. That has changed a whole lot, and with rollback security and with attribute based access security, only those people who have access within the enterprise, internal or external, will be able to see the real data. Everybody else will not even know that that data is there and is being used. But everything has to happen within the contour of your application ecosystem, data ecosystem, within your community. There are ethical ways of doing it, and there is, I mean, people, if they are interested, what we can do is we can take them through that entire ethical process, because it's easier when when you're talking about it, but when you start implementing it, it's there are multiple steps that you have to follow to ensure that ethically everything is being done.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what I loved is, and I'm sorry I chuckled when you said in the golden age, or the old days, right? What was that, a few months ago, right? It, so part of my curiosity is, how are you picking and training the AI models? Do you have some precursor knowledge, or are you gaining that more in the discovery phase with the clients, right? Trying to match it with the use cases, the right models to the right learning structure, etc.
So you have to always realize that there is a very thin line between AI ML model and a large language model. The differentiation that we have to realize is AI ML model can give you a prescription and prediction. Generative AI model actually looks at content generation predominantly, but also a finer piece of it is it will help you, based on that content, it will help you predict accurately. So the use cases are the most critical aspect. The
Yeah.
identification or differentiation of the use case between whether this falls in the AI ML space or whether this falls in the Gen AI space is something that you have to do. That is one, and the prioritization is another, is a critical aspect associated to it. The training of the models is always at the choice of the enterprise. There are test data generation techniques within Gen AI. Encora has got a test data generation capability using Gen AI. So all that we need is a structure of your data, and the entire data set on which the model will be trained is through synthetic data generation that we do. Now, that synthetic data will be very close to what the real data is. Not because we can't use real data, but even before you bring in a model, you want to test it for efficacy. The second part is there are many models that are available out there, but then you have to figure out which is the right model. And there is the concept that I like to call it is a model management thought process. And model management is in terms of, I've got say a regression model to a correlation model. I can compare the two models and see as to how the model is literally behaving. In the traditional AI ML space, the same thing happens in the Gen AI space also. Model A versus model B, which is giving me an accurate result, and that has to happen within the four corners of your model management framework. Again, within the cloud ecosystem itself.
Right.
And LLM ops, or large language model operations frameworks, help in this entire thing. Why? Because of two reasons. You want to know as to what AI ML models have I tested, and that code repository has to be within your ecosystem.
Mm.
So it helps you in ensuring that the code repository is in your ecosystem. The second is, when you talk about generative AI models, the same thing also applies there. What were the models that were tested? What was the data set that was used for the purpose of testing? What were the kind of tests that were ran? What was the performance that we have taken? And why a particular model has been selected? All of that is a part and parcel of the model management framework, which is a part of the AI ML LLM ops framework.
Right.
It is when you think through it, it is, I have models, which is my base. I have a framework associated to those models, and that framework fits as a part of the LLM ops or ML ops framework. As a result, everything that I've done within my journey for a use case is contained within the enterprise ecosystem.
And mapped through implementation, mapped all the way through
All the way
implementation.
through implementation. In fact, the drifting of the model is the most problematic thought process. Business users do not understand how or why a business model, why a model is drifting. It is actually the data that is coming in. Over a period of time, when data comes in, data drifts. And even in the traditional data engineering or data management layer also, there is a drift of data. So the thought process that you have to have is, can I institutionalize trustability in the data set all along the process, so that when it is being used by AI ML model or an LLM model, the data is trustable. So that is one swim lane. The second swim lane is, when the models are drifting, I have to have a process. Again, going back to the LLM ops, AI ML ops kind of a thought process, the model has to be brought out, retrained, and pushed back into production. And it can't happen that a person is doing it. It has to be a scheduled auto CI/CD kind of a pipeline. It is brought out, retrained, and pushed back, without the business users ever coming to know the difference.
No, that's process, right?
Yeah, it's a process, and trust me, it is doable. We are doing it for a lot of our customers, and this is much easy now. After about doing it for about 6 months, it's evolved into a framework.
An age of 6 months. Oh my word, that's incredible, right? I don't know. I'd love to also understand the ethical considerations that go into, as you're going through the implementation plan, the architecture, the design, the frameworks. How do you bring the business in so that it can layer across, both ethically and understanding the PII concerns, where marketing wants more of that data so that it could better align their targeting, their personas, etc. So the ethical boundaries, how do you as a data scientist envision and relay that to the implementation and the whole process that you're deploying?
So the ethical or efficacy, ethicality, whatever we want to call it,
right?
It is all governed by two areas of the organization. One is, every organization has got a CIO, every organization has a CISO, and every organization has got a CDAO or CDO. And what happens is, it's a conglomeration of these three individuals or these three teams that have to define the boundaries. There are rules. Whether, if you go into the European Union, they passed a rule along ethical use of AI probably a month ago. US is also doing the same thing. and there are other countries that are going to do the same thing. Now, the whole deal is what they are trying to tell us is data that should not be in the hands of the wrong people, it should never get out. Most of it is governed by the cloud ecosystems and the generative AI ecosystems.
Mm.
They have already taken care of that. But
Right.
over and above that, at an organizational level, you have to ensure that sensitive data, wherever it is available within the applications, the CRMs of the world, or the ERPs of the world, or the financial systems of the world, all of that is also governed by sensitive data management thought processes. On the second side, using generative AI, obviously, but on the second side, when you are bringing this data into it and you're pseudonymizing that data, what happens is the marketing team does not care whether they are looking at Nagaraj Shastri's data or whether they are looking at David's data.
Mm.
It may be David would have been called, say, John Doe. Nagaraj would be called John Smith. They are not interested in the name. They
Right.
are interested in our uh, for a lack of a better term, they are interested in what category we fall, the segmentation, what particular segmentation we fall. We are, just taking. Don't take me seriously, but between us, David, we are 15-year-olds.
Mm.
So we have to get into that category. So the marketing team has to realize that, okay, these guys are 15-year-olds, so that segmentation is critical for marketing to run their campaigns, to do the associated personalization, hyper personalization that we talk about.
Right.
And the segmentation and micro segmentation is a problem that has been solved by the industry already. Whether it is through the implementation of customer master data or whether it is through the implementation of customer data platforms. Now, I'm talking about these days to all our customers in terms of customer intelligence platform.
Right.
Intelligence has got a emotion attached to it. So I can create a customer master data, I can create a customer data platform, and I can have all the information that all the travels Nagaraj has done, everything I can come to know in terms of transactional data also. But the emotion associated to it will fix or will bring the gap closer between, hey, is he traveling on business or is he traveling on leisure? Because you have that information with you,
Mm.
right? And that's the problem that customer intelligence platforms entail to resolve
Mm.
within the boundaries of the enterprise, obviously, because industry wide it is very difficult to do it.
Right.
uh, Everybody wants their own silo of data, this is mine kind of a thing. And you're trying to do that, but then within the four boundaries of your enterprise application ecosystem or data ecosystem, you have that data, you can use that data effectively, right? And I bet on it that marketing teams, when they hear this,
Mm.
they will vote for it and say that, hey, I want to use this data because I want to find out, is Nagaraj traveling on business or on leisure? If he's traveling on leisure, can I know in the last 3 years how many leisure trips has he taken? Because that is important information when you think about it. Business, he keeps traveling, but that piece of leisure travel is important from the perspective of increasing the lifetime value of that customer.
Yes.
So, each of us works for an organization, and every organization has got their favorites in terms of, whether it is American Express or whether it is Visa or whether it
Mm.
is MasterCard or whatever. That is one piece of it. Even airline operations, even airlines organizations pick based on where they are headquartered.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these arrangements with the travel companies saying that, hey, whether it is a Marriott or a Hyatt or whether it is with a American Airlines or Delta or United, they have these specific things. I'll give you this amount of business, I need discounted tickets.
Mm.
Why? Because I want to keep my cost of ownership or total cost of expenses lower. And what AI and ML as well as LLM is trying to do in this entire phase is two things: increase your revenue potential. The second thing is decrease your costs. And if you understand it in that fashion,
Mm.
it becomes very, very easy to go through.
Yeah. But the challenge, and we talked about it the other day, the fragmentation of our industry, hospitality side versus the above wing engagement that airlines are now performing, it's, I guess, one thing to be able to recognize the traveler, try and put them into segmentation, work the data structures. But now, how do you operationalize it so that I can recognize the guest when they arrive at the property? I can engage at the level of a platinum for you and your family on a leisure trip, but you're not a platinum at my resort or my brand, right? Therefore, how do I give you the self-sovereign identity, the SSI, or the decentralized identity forum, what they've been striving for? How do I get my own credentials that I can offer and utilize in these exchanges that are micro exchanges, right? Because all we've done in this, 26 minutes is talk about one side of the AI operation. And that's where, what's the ROI and what's the actual size of this lift for organizations? Because I think when I hear you talk about AWS and Azure and Snowflake and others, it's not the larger companies can engage. How do the small guys start to get involved?
Yeah, so there are a lot of organizations that are in the small and medium size bucket, for a lack of a better term. Different cloud ecosystems have different parameters for it: less than billion, less than 2 billion, so on and so forth. But then the whole idea is the journey to the cloud. 4 or 5 years ago, it was at an adoption phase. Today, you will see about 90 to 95% of organizations on cloud, irrespective of their size.
Right.
They have realized that this is the better way of doing it. But then the whole thought process of how to bridge the gap is in terms of creating at an enterprise level. And again, I would not say that, we do understand every there are too many players in the entire ecosystem, and those players want to hone to their own data. I may go to Vegas, for example, or Cancun, for example, and it is affiliated, say, with Marriott. I'm staying in a property that is affiliated to Marriott. I'm a platinum member, for example, in Marriott. But this property is the first time that I'm going. And they look up, they say, yeah, you're a platinum in Marriott, but that associates to a silver in our resort. And we are giving you whatever we give you in terms of amenities for a silver. Now the whole idea is that when that integration has to happen, there has to be a conversation between Marriott and this particular resort in this example. But more importantly, within your enterprise, what can you do better? If I was a Marriott, if I'm Marriott who's trying to resolve this issue, I would say that every of my platinum members, irrespective of which resort or which location they are traveling to, they're always given the platinum treatment. Why? Because for me to have that customer stay with me, I have to extend this across. And that's happening in a slow, and it's taking its own pace. But the whole idea is, if that does not happen, the concept of real ID, for example, if you realize it, and I'm using that analogy for this purpose, is that real ID. If that real ID is the ID that you show at an airport, and then you're good. But the point is, or the problem is, that it takes time for it to get implemented, because there are multiple acquisitions of newer brands. Integrations of those newer brands within the brand ecosystem itself is a nightmare. Forget the application ecosystem getting integrated.
Right.
Even the brand integration is a big challenge that organizations are facing. So it is happening, but what will happen is, if within your enterprise ecosystem, if you can resolve it, then what? Because you have all the data that you need, and you have the AI ML products or the LLM models that you want. But then the whole deal is, if it is defragmented within your enterprise, you're not taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's dark data. You can't get access to it. That's brilliant. Can we have another hour, Kim, to keep going? Because this is fantastic. And I think the advice that we're getting from Nagaraj, plus learning that he's a platinum at all these different companies, brands,
I'm not.
he's going to get targeted left, right, and center, right?
Well, I would love to give you that another hour. I don't know what's going to happen today, but we can certainly get something else on the show for the future. No doubt. I mean, Nagaraj, it's, as David said, it's certainly been a pleasure learning from you today. Before we do step out, for those individuals who might want to continue a conversation with you directly, how might our viewers find out more about your work or stay updated on your latest insights? What would you recommend in that sense?
So I think they should go into Encora website, Encora.com, and look at data analytics, and they should be able to find me. I keep writing blogs. I've recently written a blog about this particular topic. There is no AI strategy if you do not have a data strategy. Period.
Brilliant.
The whole thought process is I've tried to bring that entire concept into a blog. And what I've done is I've said that I've talked about evolution of data, obviously. I've talked about evolution about data maturity and the importance of data quality. And because trustworthiness of the data is critical for any AI, ML, or LLM model to work. And I've also talked about LLM based models. We also have I represent the data and analytics practice. We have my counterparts, Rodrigo Vargas is our generative AI head globally. Both of us work very closely, and he has written some blogs on LLMs itself, on generative AI, the ethical use of generative AI, and all of that, as well as my other partner in crime with whom you have already met, which is Manuel Cubilio, who is the head of our cloud platforms. And between the three of us, we are like, I should not say Siamese twins, because we are not attached together, but we are three of us who are attached at the hip. And you can reach out to us. And if people want my email ID, Kim, you have my email ID. Yep. You can actually present it or to use it. And happy to talk to anyone anywhere in the world in order to resolve some of these issues.
Absolutely. We'll be continuing the conversation with Manuel. He's coming up on May 30th. Rodrigo will be joining us on our June 13th show. And May 16th, that's coming up, we've got Martin Chevrolet, again, CEO of Inspire, giving more insight into the AI in action, right? What they're doing and seeing as this rolls out with actual companies. So yes, this series is a great one, filled with tons of insight, intellectuals, and people who, most importantly, are willing to share, right, what they know and help grow the industry together as we look forward. And what's only going to be possible in the next 6 months, right? Very exciting.
What an age. What an age.
What an age. Perfect. So like I said, next up is our May 16th show. So thank you once again, Nagaraj, David. Here we go, taking AI into hospitality. And I love that. Without the data, there is no AI. So
there you go.
Thank you, guys.
Till next time. Thank you. Bye for now.